They didn't hand me a knife. They handed me a sleeping bag. And somehow that was worse. My name is Renata Colby. I'm 39 years old. I have 2 kids, a husband who has never once let me down, and a family that spent 12 years letting me hold everything together while they handed me the least comfortable corner of every room. 3 months ago, I reached the end of something I didn't even know how to limit. And when I finally walked out that door, quietly, without drama, without a single slammed cabinet, the silence I left behind was louder than anything I could have screamed. This is what happened. And this is what happened after. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving when we pulled into Cloverfield. For hours on the highway, one blown tire stop outside of Canton, and my daughter Sophia asking if we were almost there every 17 minutes, like clockwork. My husband Daniel parked behind my mother's old Pontiac, and I sat in the passenger seat staring at the house I grew up in. The same uneven gutters. The same mailbox that had been leaning left since 2003, and nobody ever fixed. The kitchen window glowing yellow the way it always did, like a lamp set out to signal that someone was home. I used to find that comforting. Now it just made me tired. I popped the trunk. 3 bags of groceries, a 14-pound turkey I'd brined overnight, 2 sweet potato pies I'd baked at 6 in the morning, cranberry relish, green beans, the good kind of stuffing my mother pretended to make from scratch every year but hadn't actually made in a decade. Daniel carried the suitcases. Sophia bolted for the front door, already calling for Grandma Bev. My son Caleb, 4 years old, toddled after her with his stuffed elephant tucked under his arm. My mother, Beverly Colby, opened the door the way she always did for my sister. She held Sophia for a long time. She waved at me. You made good time. Traffic was okay. I set the groceries on the counter and counted the chairs at the dining table. 6. My family was 4. Mom was 1. My sister Pamela's family was 5. 6 chairs for 10 people. Mom, where's the extra seating? She waved a hand like she was shooing a fly. We'll figure it out. I carried our bag upstairs, turned toward the guest room, and stopped. The door was open. On the floor, a blow-up mattress with Pamela's floral comforter already spread across it. Her overnight bag on the dresser. Her kids' backpacks lined against the wall like soldiers. They weren't even there yet, but their things had already claimed the room. I looked at the queen bed. Clean sheets. The little star nightlight Sophia always asked about, still plugged in beside the headboard, casting pale gold shapes on the ceiling. I went back downstairs. Mom, is Pamela getting the guest room? She was scrubbing a pot at the sink, her back to me. We'll talk about it when everyone's here. She used my full name. She only does that when she's already decided and doesn't want to be questioned about it. Pamela arrived at 6:30 with her husband Greg and all 3 kids. My mother met them at the door like a dignitary had come home. She hugged Pamela first, held her for 5 full seconds, kissed each grandchild on the forehead, waved at Greg. Then she took Pamela's hand and walked her upstairs. Set up the guest room just like you like it. I was standing in the hallway holding Caleb. Pamela walked past me without a word. Her oldest, Cassidy, bumped my elbow and didn't look up from her phone. 15 minutes later, I found my mother in the linen closet. Mom, where are we sleeping? She reached to the back of the shelf and pulled out 2 rolled sleeping bags. Blue nylon, the cheap kind, probably leftover from a camping trip in 1998. She held them out to me the way you'd hand someone a parking citation. Your sister's family gets the guest room. You and the kids can take the living room floor. It'll be fine. I stared at those sleeping bags. I stared at her. Sophia tugged my sleeve. Mommy, are we camping inside? From the top of the stairs, Pamela's voice floated down smooth and unbothered. Maybe you should have booked a hotel. She was leaning on the railing with her arms crossed and a small smile on her face like she'd just watched something mildly entertaining. Greg stood behind her, looking at the floor. I took the sleeping bags. I don't know why. 12 years of muscle memory, I suppose. 12 years of taking whatever was handed to me, saying thank you, and making it work. Daniel appeared at the end of the hallway. He looked at the sleeping bags in my hands, then at my face. His jaw went tight. But he said nothing. He'd learned a long time ago that my family was mine to navigate. He was right. And that night, I would finally navigate my way out. Before I take you back to what happened next, let me tell you who I was before that night so you understand exactly what it cost. 8 years earlier, my father Thomas Colby was in a hospital bed at Cloverfield Regional with 3 weeks left. Lung cancer, stage 4. He was 58 and looked 75. I was 31, newly married, sitting beside him while he held my hand with fingers that felt like paper. My sister wasn't there. She had a headache. Renata. His voice came in pieces. Your mother can't manage any of it. The house, the finances, the taxes. She never had to, and now she'll panic. You have to be the one. Dad, stop. Promise me. He squeezed my hand. You're the only one who can hold it together. You always have been. I held his hand until he fell asleep. Then I walked to the parking lot and cried alone in my car for 40 minutes. I was 31 years old, and my dying father had just handed me his entire family, like a second mortgage I hadn't applied for. He passed 3 weeks later. Pamela made the funeral. She sat in the front row and wept so dramatically that 2 ushers had to hold her up. My mother wrapped herself around Pamela for the entire service. I gave the eulogy. That afternoon I sat at my father's desk and opened his file cabinet. No life insurance. Mortgage balance of $87,000. Property tax $4,200 a year. Mom's income $1,400 a month from Social Security. The numbers didn't work. So I made them work. $800 a month. Automatic transfer. First of every month. I was 31 years old, and I did not stop to ask myself how long the word forever was supposed to last. 12 years. That's how long. There was the ruby brooch my grandmother passed down. My mother gave it to Pamela. She needs something beautiful. She's going through a hard time. Pamela's hard time that year was a bathroom she didn't like. My mother handed me the velvet pouch it had come in, empty. The pouch is lovely too, Renata. She meant it as something. I kept it as everything. There was Sophia's first piano recital. 6 months of practice, a piece called Moonlight Garden, 3 wrong notes, and the biggest smile I've ever seen. My mother promised she'd come. Morning of, Pamela can't drive in the dark and Cassidy needs new shoes before the school showcase. We'll catch the next one, honey. There was no next one. Sophia quit 2 months later and never explained why. I knew why. Every Christmas, I cooked. I cleaned. I decorated. I bought gifts for everyone including Pamela's 3 kids. Pamela showed up 2 hours late with a gas station candle and fell asleep on the couch by 9. Mom's annual verdict: let her rest. She's had a rough year. Every single year was a rough year. 15 of them, unbroken, like a championship streak. And every year I gave a little more: Cassidy's braces, the travel fees for her son Derek's lacrosse team, Pamela's youngest starting ballet at $40 a class. I paid for it. I kept a spreadsheet because I'm an accountant. Numbers are how I understand the world. The numbers told a story I wasn't ready to hear. For years before that Thanksgiving, Pamela called me at 10 on a Tuesday night, sobbing. Greg hurt his back at work. He can't work for months. The medical bills are already coming. I don't know what I'm going to do. $11,000. I transferred it in 48 hours without hesitating, without asking Daniel, without requesting a repayment plan. Because my sister was crying and I moved $11,000 like it was a dinner reservation. 3 months later, I was scrolling through photos and there it was. Pamela's kitchen. New quartz countertops. A farmhouse sink. White subway tile. She'd posted an album. Fresh start, new kitchen. So grateful. My mother had commented, gorgeous, baby. You deserve every bit of this. I called my mother. Pamela used that money for a kitchen remodel. Her response, oh, honey, she probably just mixed things up. Don't use the word lied about your own sister. That is my mother's operating system. The truth is adjustable when it threatens the story she's decided to tell about her family. I never got the money back. I never brought it up again. And Pamela never mentioned it, just posted photos of her new kitchen like the cash had descended from the sky. She knew I knew. She just didn't think it mattered. Because in my family, asking for what you're owed is more offensive than taking it. Back to Thanksgiving night. I was at the sink at 9:30, up to my elbows in dish soap, scrubbing the turkey pan. Same as every year. Daniel came in and closed the kitchen door. Renata, if you're going to tell me to let it go. He shook his head. Sophia asked me something. I turned off the faucet. She asked me why Grandma Bev doesn't like us. The sponge slipped out of my hand onto the floor. She said those exact words. She asked if she and Caleb did something wrong because they're sleeping on the floor and their cousins have a bed. I looked through the kitchen doorway. Sophia was in the living room on her hands and knees, trying to unroll the sleeping bag on the hardwood. The nylon kept sliding. She'd smooth one end, and the other would curl up. Caleb had already given up and was asleep on the couch, curled into a ball with no blanket, his little elephant tucked under his chin. Pamela was upstairs in the guest room with the door shut. The television murmured through the ceiling. My mother was in her recliner with a book. No one looked at my daughter. No one helped. Something shifted in my chest. Not cracked, that came later. Shifted the way a foundation moves just before it splits. Daniel. Yeah, get the car seats ready. He didn't ask a single question. He walked out the back door. I heard the trunk open. I dried my hands on the dish towel and folded it once, twice, 3 times. Lined it up perfectly with the edge of the counter. Then I went to get my children. I moved fast upstairs. Suitcase zipped. Toiletries swept into a bag. Sophia's stuffed rabbit. Caleb's blanket. Everything in under 2 minutes. I had spent my entire adult life being efficient for this family. One last time. Daniel carried Caleb. I took Sophia's hand. She was half asleep, shuffling, her hair loose around her face. We were at the front door when my mother's voice came from the hallway. What are you doing? It's almost midnight. We're going home, Mom. You're leaving? Over a sleeping bag? Pamela appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, arms crossed. Oh, here we go. Dramatic exit. I zipped Sophia's coat and pulled up her hood without looking at either of them. Mom stepped closer. You're overreacting, Renata. I looked at her, calm, clear, steady, and I said something I had been carrying for 8 years. Mom, the last time you asked how I was doing, not what I could handle for you, not what I could pay, but how I was the week Dad died. 8 years ago. The hallway went completely still. Even Pamela uncrossed her arms. My mother opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. That's not true. Name the time, then. Silence. That's what I thought. I picked up Sophia and walked out the front door. The November air hit me cold and clean. Daniel had the car running, headlights cutting through the dark. I buckled Sophia into her seat. She blinked up at me. Mommy, are we sleeping somewhere else? No, baby. We're going home. Our home. I closed her door, walked around the car, got in. I didn't slam my door. I closed it gently, like closing a chapter. And by the silence behind us, no footsteps on the porch, no voice calling after us, I understood. They had already gone back inside. That's how much my leaving cost them. At least that's what they believed. 3 hours on a dark highway. Both kids were asleep before we hit the county line. My phone buzzed at 11:40. Mom. I let it ring. 11:50. Mom again. Midnight. Pamela. Text. Real mature, Renata. Way to destroy Thanksgiving for everyone who actually matters. I set the phone face down on my lap. Somewhere past the state line, I opened my laptop. Screen dimmed, so it wouldn't wake the kids. I pulled up the spreadsheet, the one I kept for tax purposes. Joint account disbursements, categorized by recipient. I scrolled to the summary tab. Mortgage supplement, $800 a month, 144 months. $92,000. Property tax, $4,200 a year, 12 years. $50,400. Pamela's children, school fees, braces, sports, camp registrations. $16,000 and change. Emergency transfers, including the kitchen that masqueraded as a medical crisis. Total, $178,000. $178,000. Daniel glanced over, without saying a word. He'd seen the number before. He'd accepted it the way you accept weather, as something that simply was. What are you going to do? I'm going to stop. Everything. I looked in the rearview mirror. Sophia's face slack against the window. Caleb curled under his jacket. Everything. He nodded once and kept driving. Friday morning I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad and wrote the list by hand. Cancel mortgage supplement, effective January 1st. Cancel venue for Mom's 65th birthday party, the Cloverfield Garden Club, 82 guests, January 10th. Cancel catering. Cancel florist. Cancel photographer. Cancel the summer beach house rental. Cancel camp registrations for Cassidy and Derek. 6 items. Clean, precise, the kind of list I made every day at work. I stared at item 2 the longest. 6 months of planning. The venue manager owed me a favor. I had designed the invitations myself. Ivory cardstock, gold foil, elegant script. You are cordially invited to celebrate Beverly Colby's 65th birthday. 82 of those invitations were sitting on 82 kitchen counters across Cloverfield right now. My name was printed at the bottom as host. I opened a new email, typed, deleted, typed again, deleted. The third draft was short. No accusations. No inventory. Just facts. Mom, effective January 1st, I will no longer be supplementing your mortgage or covering the property taxes. I'm giving you 30 days notice to make alternative arrangements. I'm also canceling the birthday celebration. The venue will be in touch directly. Renata. I saved it as a draft. I wasn't ready to send it yet, but I was ready to stop pretending. Monday morning, I called the garden club. Good morning, this is Renata Colby. I'm the host for the Beverly Colby 65th birthday event on January 10th. I need to cancel. A pause. Ms. Colby, we've already confirmed the linens and the floral centerpieces are in production. I understand. Please apply whatever refund is available to the card on file. Each call after that took less than 5 minutes. The caterer, the florist, the photographer, the bakery where I'd ordered a 3-tier lemon cake. Lemon because it was Mom's favorite, and the woman on the phone knew me by name. Renata, honey, is everything okay? Change of plans, I said. Please cancel the order for January 10th. Before I hung up, I asked one thing. When you send the cancellation confirmation, can you copy my mother on the email? She should hear it from you. We usually only contact the card holder. Copy both. I hung up and sat with the silence for a long time. 82 invitations. Gold foil. My name at the bottom. Every single one of them a thread that led back to me. That afternoon, I pressed send on the email. The reply from my mother came 4 hours later. One line. How could you do this to me? Not a question. A verdict. Wednesday, Pamela's texts arrived in a wall. All caps. You canceled Cassidy's camp? That had a wait list. Wait list, Renata. What is wrong with you? Mom is beside herself because of you. Happy now? She called 5 times in a single hour. I watched each call pulse on the screen and go still. Then she texted Daniel directly. Tell your wife to grow up and fix this before she tears this family apart. Daniel showed me the message, set his phone face down on the table. Want me to respond? No. One more text from Pamela, the longest one, the one she'd clearly been composing for an hour. You're blowing up everyone's life over one bad night. Some of us can't afford to throw money around to prove how much we love somebody. Some of us just show up. I actually show up for Mom. You write checks and call that a relationship. I read it twice. There it was, the blade she'd been using my whole life. The accusation that my giving was a performance. That generosity was just ego, dressed up as love. She'd said versions of this to me for 40 years. And for the first time, it landed on me like a sentence with no weight. I set the phone down, walked into the playroom, and built a Lego bridge with Sophia until dinner. A week after Thanksgiving, Mom called. I answered because I needed to hear what she would say, not to decide anything, but to know who she still was. Renata, the venue called. The party's canceled. Is this true?
Yes.
Do you know how humiliating this is? I already told everyone. I know. I sent the invitations. Silence. Then the shift. I could hear it in her breath, the moment she reached for the weapon that had always worked. Your father would be ashamed of what you're doing. I closed my eyes and counted to 5. Dad asked me to take care of you. He didn't ask me to let you humiliate my children. When did I ever humiliate your children? Tuesday night. The floor. The sleeping bags. Sophia asked Daniel if Grandma doesn't like them. She's 6 years old, Mom.
She's not resilient about this.
She's confused. That's ridiculous. Kids are adaptable.
She's not a concept, Mom.
She's my daughter. And I'm your daughter. And it's been 8 years since you asked how I was doing. Silence. Then, you're going to let me lose my house over one night? One night is what you saw. 12 years is what I lived. Meaning the mortgage you'll be short in January. Meaning the property taxes you've never once written a check for. Meaning every holiday I cooked and every crisis I funded. I never asked you to do any of that. And there it was. 8 words, the truest thing she had ever said to me. She never asked. She just expected. And I delivered.
You're right, Mom.
You never asked. And I never should have needed you to. She hung up. I noticed my hands were completely steady. The town of Cloverfield is small enough that a canceled party is a news event. My Aunt Clara, my mother's younger sister, was the one who told me what happened next. Ruth Dawson, my mother's closest friend from church, called on a Tuesday evening. Pat, I got a voicemail from the garden club about a cancellation for your birthday. What's going on? Mom tried. Oh, we decided to do something more intimate. Then Nancy Greer called. Then 3 women from the garden committee. Every time the story shifted, scheduling conflict, budget issue, family decision. But 82 invitations don't disappear. They sit on refrigerators and corkboards and kitchen windowsills. And every single one has the name Renata Colby printed at the bottom in gold foil. People didn't just wonder about the party. They wondered about the host. My neighbor of 30 years, Helen Pratt, the one who brought casseroles when my father was dying, texted me directly. Honey, I heard about the party. Is everything okay between you and your mom? I wrote back 4 words. You'd have to ask her. In a town like Cloverfield, a gap in a story is louder than the story itself. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Pamela showed up at my door. She'd driven 4 hours. Eyes red in the careful way, like she'd cried in the car for the last 10 minutes to get the look exactly right. We need to talk. You drove 4 hours.
Come in.
She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd sent the email, hands folded like a job interview. You're destroying this family over a sleeping bag. It wasn't a sleeping bag, Pamela. It was 12 years. She switched to the script I knew by heart. Do you know how hard my life is? Kevin Barely, you remodeled your kitchen with my emergency money. Her mouth closed. $11,000 for medical bills. Quartz countertops and a farmhouse sink. She recovered fast. Pamela always recovers fast. Dad would be ashamed of you. Dad asked me to take care of you. He didn't ask me to be your ATM. She tried one more angle. If you don't fix this, Mom will never forgive you. Mom never forgave me for not needing her. That's not something I can fix. She stared at me. Then the mask shifted, not to grief, but to the thing underneath it. You think you're better than us because you have money. I think I'm worth more than a sleeping bag on a cold floor. And so are my kids. She stood up and the chair scraped. She grabbed her bag. You'll regret this. Maybe, but not on a hardwood floor. She slammed the front door hard enough to rattle the windows. I wiped down the table and finished making dinner. That evening, my phone buzzed with a number I nearly didn't recognize.
Greg.
Renata, this is Greg. I just want you to know I see it. I've always seen it. I'm sorry I never said anything before now. I read the text 3 times. Greg Mallory, quiet man, head usually down. Married to my sister for 16 years. And then one more message. Pamela doesn't know I'm texting you. Please don't mention it. And then, for what it's worth, Derek told me at dinner last week that he wished he could go home with you guys at Thanksgiving. That's when I broke. Not dramatically. No scene. I sat on the couch and cried the quiet way, one tear after another, like a faucet someone forgot to turn off.
Daniel sat beside me.
He didn't ask what happened. He didn't reach for the phone. Just sat close enough that his shoulder was against mine. I cried for 7 minutes. It wasn't grief, and it wasn't anger. It was the particular ache of being seen by someone you didn't expect after a lifetime of being invisible to the people who should have looked first. Derek wished he could come home with us. Daniel was quiet. Then, that kid's going to be all right.
Yeah, I think he is.
First week of December, the mortgage company sent a notice. Mom's payment was $800 short. She called 4 times in one day. Voicemail 1. Renata, call me. There's something wrong with the house payment. Voicemail 2. This is serious. I'm going to lose the house if this isn't corrected. Voicemail 3. Are you really going to let your mother lose her home? Is that who you are now? Voicemail 4. At nearly midnight, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. Renata.
Please.
I listened to that last one twice. In the dark, Daniel asleep, the house still. That word, please, pressed against something old and deep. But then I listened again clearly. Her first 3 messages were about money. The house. The payment. Her comfort. The 4th was please, and it was still about $800. In 12 years, this was the first time she'd begged. Not about Sophia on the floor. Not about the birthday she'd never once thought to plan for me. About a payment. I put the phone down and called my Aunt Clara. She picked up on the first ring. I was wondering when you'd call. Have you talked to Mom? Oh, honey, she's talked to everyone. Come Sunday, she'll be talking to the Lord himself. I almost laughed. Clara, am I wrong? She was quiet for exactly 2 seconds. You're 12 years late. That's the only thing wrong with it. My Aunt Clara Brennan teaches high school English in Dayton, drinks her coffee black, and has never once told a comfortable lie in her life. She told me what she'd said to my mother. Pat, that girl has been carrying this family on her back for 12 years, and you gave her a sleeping bag. My mother hung up on her. Then Clara said something I will carry for the rest of my life. Renata, your mother doesn't favor Pamela because she loves her more. She favors her because Pamela threatens to leave. Your sister has been dangling that exit door for 40 years. I won't come for Christmas. Don't count on me for Thanksgiving. Your mother, alone in that big house, folds every single time. You never threatened to leave. Not once. And your mother learned that loyalty, without consequences, is the easiest thing in the world to exploit. I was quiet.
So you had to stop being easy, she said.
I had to stop being free. Clara also confirmed the one thing I needed to know. Mom's Social Security covers her basic expenses. She has savings. She won't lose the house. She'll need to budget, maybe downsize. But I wasn't pushing her off a cliff. I was letting go of a rope I'd been pulling her up with for 12 years. The rest came quickly. Mid-December, I returned from a 2-day work trip to 94 missed calls. When Mom's voicemail finally broke, her voice unrecognizable, stripped bare, she said something that stopped me cold. Ruth asked me point blank if you were paying for everything. And I couldn't lie anymore. It wasn't I'm sorry. It wasn't I was wrong. It was I couldn't lie anymore, as if truth were something that had happened to her. Like weather. Sunday morning at Cloverfield Community Church, My mother walked to her usual pew in her navy dress, pearl earrings, Bible under her arm. Ruth's smile was absent. Nancy Greer looked away. After the service, Helen Pratt walked up to her in the parking lot. I talked to Renata. She told me to ask you. So, I'm asking, is it true that she's been paying your mortgage for 12 years and you put her children on the floor at Thanksgiving? My mother said nothing. I've known you 35 years, Beverly. I never knew your daughter was the one keeping the lights on. Helen got in her car and pulled away. My mother stood alone in that parking lot. Clara, parked 3 rows back, watched the whole thing. She called me that afternoon. I'm telling you this so you know the truth came out without you saying a single word, Renata. You never had to. I closed my eyes. I know. That's the part that hurts the most. Weekend before Christmas, my mother drove 4 hours and knocked on my door. Old corduroy coat. No earrings, no performance.
Can we talk?
I let her in. Daniel took the kids outside without being asked. We sat at the kitchen table. I walked to the bedroom and came back with a velvet pouch. Empty. Brown velvet. Gold cord. I set it on the table between us. You gave Grandma's brooch to Pamela and handed me the case it came in. You told me the pouch was nice, too. You missed Sophia's recital for Cassidy's shoes. You put my children on a cold floor. And in 12 years, you never once said thank you.
I didn't think you needed me to, she said.
Quiet. Almost a whisper.
That's the problem, Mom.
You decided I didn't need anything. And you were wrong. The kitchen was silent. Outside, I could hear Sophia laughing on the tire swing. Mom reached for the pouch and turned it over in her hand slowly. I gave it to Pamela because I thought she needed something. You always had everything together. Having everything together is not the same as having everything. Her chin trembled. The real kind. I held this family together with my bare hands, Mom. I paid your mortgage. I covered your taxes. I cooked every holiday meal and funded every crisis and spent 6 months planning a birthday party for 82 people. And the thank you I got was a sleeping bag on a cold floor while Pamela laughed from the stairs. She was crying now. Real crying, shoulders shaking, no sound at first, then a breath that broke the room open. What do I do?
She asked.
Start by looking at Sophia, the way you look at Cassidy. Start there. She wiped her eyes. Really looked at me. Maybe for the first time in a decade.
I love you, Mom.
But I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep you warm. That's not love. That's just burning. She nodded.
Didn't argue.
Something shifted in the room. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but acknowledgement. A crack in a wall. Wide enough for light. She stood slowly, like her body had gotten older in the last hour. At the door, she turned. Renata, the sleeping bags. I knew it was wrong when I did it. I told myself you'd be fine, because you're always fine. I know, Mom. She nodded. No hug. No grand reconciliation. She buttoned her coat wrong, fixed it, and walked to her car. She sat there for a full minute before starting the engine. I watched her pull away. Tail lights at the stop sign.
Gone.
Marcus came through the back door, one hand on my shoulder as he passed. Was I too hard? You were 12 years too gentle. I leaned into him and closed my eyes. Sophia's voice from the hallway. Mommy, was that Grandma? Is she coming for Christmas? I crouched down to her eye level and brushed the hair from her forehead. I don't know yet, baby. But wherever we are on Christmas, you'll have a bed. I promise you that.
She grinned.
Can I have the Star Night light? You already have one, remember? Daddy bought it for you. Oh, yeah. She ran back to her room. Daniel and I stood in the open doorway, cold air coming in, the street quiet. And for the first time in 12 years, the quiet didn't feel like something I owed anyone. In the end, there's no dramatic finish line. Mom sold the house in the spring, her decision, and moved into a smaller condo on the east side of Cloverfield. For the first time in 30 years, Beverly Colby was living within her own means. Pamela got a full-time job. Greg is still there, still quiet, still occasionally texting me things Pamela doesn't know about. Derek, 14 years old, once called me out of the blue just to say thank you for the camp fees. Nobody had ever said that. I couldn't speak for a full minute. And in the end of January, a letter arrived. Handwritten, 2 pages, blue ink, smudged where my mother had pressed too hard. She wrote about the sleeping bags. I knew it was wrong when I did it. I don't know why I did it anyway. She wrote about Pamela. I've spent so many years trying to keep your sister close that I forgot to hold on to you. She threatened to leave, and I panicked. You never threatened anything. And I took that for permission to put you last. She wrote near the end, I've started seeing a counselor. I don't expect you to forgive me tomorrow. But I want you to know that for the first time, I'm not asking you to fix this. I'm trying to fix it myself. I read the letter 3 times. Cried on the second. Almost smiled on the third. 2 weeks after that letter, I texted my mother on a Tuesday evening. Sophia wants to show you her new drawing. Are you free for a video call? Her reply came in 9 seconds.
Yes. Anytime.
We called at 7. Sophia held the phone too close the way kids do, half her face in the frame, camera swinging toward the ceiling every few seconds. Grandma, look. She held up a drawing. Crayon on printer paper. A house with 5 stick figures in front. A tall one with brown hair. A taller one, Daniel. 2 small ones. And one with gray curls and a purple dress. That's you, Grandma. Right next to me. My mother's voice through the phone came out fractured. Where am I standing, Sophia? Next to me. Because I want you next to me. Silence. Then a breath that sounded like it came from somewhere very deep. I want that too, sweetheart. I want that too. They talked for 12 more minutes. Caleb roared his stuffed elephant at the camera. Mom laughed, rusty, but real. I didn't restore the mortgage supplement. I didn't reinstate the property taxes. Those were gone permanently. Not because I wanted to punish her. Because I finally understood the difference between love and obligation. Between giving freely and giving out of fear. Between being the foundation and being the floor. I had spent 12 years as the floor. The surface everyone walked across without thinking twice. The thing you only notice when it cracks. But on an ordinary Tuesday night in early spring, I walked down the hall to check on my kids the way I do every night. Caleb first, sideways across his bed, 1 foot hanging off the edge, elephant tucked under his chin. I pulled his blanket up. He didn't stir. Then Sophia's room. I pushed the door open slowly. The star nightlight glowed gold beside her bed. She was on her back, hair fanned across the pillow, fast asleep in a bed that was hers, in a home that was hers. Mommy. Her eyes opened halfway. Go back to sleep, baby.
Mommy. Yeah.
I like sleeping in a bed. I knelt on the carpet beside her and smoothed her hair. Me too, baby. Me too. She was gone again in seconds. I stayed on the floor a moment, voluntarily, this time, kneeling in the soft dark, listening to my daughter breathe. 5 months ago, this child had knelt on cold hardwood in her grandmother's living room, trying to unroll a nylon sleeping bag that kept sliding away from her. She had asked me if we were camping. I had walked out that door at 11 o'clock at night with 2 sleeping children and a husband who never once, not in 16 years, told me I should have seen it coming. I left a version of myself on that floor. The one who confused endurance with love. The one who kept an empty velvet pouch on a shelf and told herself it was enough. The one who was always fine, always handled it, always showed up, and learned, too late, that always is the thing people take most for granted. I left her there, and I walked out into the cold with the only people I needed. If you're out there right now, the one who always pays, always plans, always shows up, and never gets asked how you're doing, I want you to know one thing. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to have a bed. Not because you've earned it. Because you never needed to earn it. That was always the lie. Which moment hit you hardest? The sleeping bags, the empty pouch, or the letter that finally came? Drop it in the comments. And if this story felt familiar, if any part of it sounded like your life, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. There's another story in the description I think you'll connect with just as deeply. Thank you for being here until the very end.